Happy Thursday. Welcome to the Scoop World Order. We are on the night before a humongous recruiting weekend for Ohio State football. Got a lot of news, schedule dropped. A lot of things are in motion with the camp starting up. So we're going to take all your questions and we're going to break down who I think is the best running back in the country. And if you guys think there's someone else, then I disagree with you because this kid's he's pretty fantastic. As always, if you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, I appreciate you guys being with us each and every night. The growth has been tremendous. Give us a follow on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well, along with YouTube. Those are our major platforms. Again, we appreciate you guys. You guys have a lot of options for your entertainment. You come right here. We try to keep it entertaining, funny, and informative, which is what we do. But again, we're also reminding you guys, be safe out there. Thank you to our first responders, our police officers. There's been some tragedies in Columbus. So again, I just want to make sure that you guys thank those folks that are keeping us safe. First responders, police officers, paramedics, along with our armed force members. Again, we've signed up a ton of new people for Pay It Forward over the past 3 weeks. So thank you to all of you that leave super chats. Those go right into Pay It Forward, and they help get our service members and our paramedics and our police officers, firefighters, complimentary memberships to BuckeyeScoop.com, which is the #1 Ohio State site, and it has been active during a downturn when every other message board has been dead. Ours has been crazy. So again, it is the #1 Ohio State community. We'd love for you guys to join it. So with that being said, I'm going to bring in my good friend Nevada. Nevada, how's your day been today?
My day is wonderful, a wonderful day, and one day closer to the Texas game. Everything in my life is counted down to the Texas game right now, and I feel like we've crossed the summer solstice, and now we're on the backside, getting ready to the off season's officially over 51% over, and time for some football.
Well, we'll get to the Texas kickoffs. I know we're gonna love to talk about that, but Savon Hyder's coming into town. This is the guy that you and we watched his tape. We agree this kid is a special kid. This is a Carlos Lachlan joint, and we just had one of the best running backs in school history, and Trey Henderson, come from Virginia to Ohio State. He's making his visit, best running back in the country. Your thoughts on Savon visiting?
Well, yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, it's not like we just didn't get. I mean, Trayvon's kind of a legend in the state of Virginia, and the fact that had such a great career at Ohio State, went on to the relatively high draft choice in the NFL, and now Savion Hyder's coming behind him. Savion's kind of looked up to Trayvon when he's playing there. As a youngster, kind of going through there. So I think for Ohio State. Look, it's attractive for any running back. I mean, last year we were able to attract Quinshawn Judkins to come from Ole Miss to Ohio State, despite the fact that we had Travion Henderson. So, for a kid like Savion Hyder, it's a perfect fit for him. He knows that we love to run the ball. He knows that we have a great tradition of taking running backs, promoting running backs. I mean, to have two running backs drafted in the second round of the NFL draft is kind of rare for any program. And Savon Hyder's the #1 running back on the Ohio State board. So, they've got other guys that are, but you've got Favor of Key, you've got some other running backs that are looking at, trying to go through. They've got Derek Cooper. Um, but make no mistake, Savon Hyder is their #1 choice. He's the guy they want the most. He's the guy that they're willing to spend the most on. And they get a great crack at him here in this opening of the great recruiting season, bringing him in for a reason. And we'll see where they go. I mean, the big competition looks like it's shaping up to be Georgia and Tennessee for him, which is typical with a good running back. You're going to have SEC schools going after him. You're going to have them throwing the bag. You're going to have them, I mean, Georgia's obviously a very attractive place to play, and Tennessee gets more than their fair share of players. But Ohio State feels like they're in a good position with them. Carlos Lachlan's been working the heck out of this one. As I said, #1 guy on the board. If we don't get this guy, there's no sugarcoat. There's no like, well, we didn't want him. Oh, we cooled on him. Oh, he wasn't that good anyway. No, he's the #1 guy on their board. If they get him, it's a big get. If they don't get him, is it the end of days? Of course not. I mean, we'll still survive and go on and prosper. But this is the guy they want the most, and we'll see how much Ohio State momentum's got continuing on in the state of Virginia with the great Savion Hyder coming in this weekend.
Yeah, this is a kid that would play as a freshman and have a huge role. And he is a monstrous kid. Now, let's be real. This is Virginia. Virginia's terrible football. Terrible. So this isn't in general. Like I've watched Virginia football. I watched Curtis Grant and Derek Green and Trey Henderson. And, this kid is elite as elite can be. The competition is not great, but again, you still see the speed, the acceleration, the burst, the toughness, everything out of this kid. And he is a monstrous kid. This is a 3-down back. This is what you want as your lead guy. And I think anymore with these classes, you take a lead guy and then you take a complimentary guy. And this is your lead guy. This is the guy that would get the biggest NIL deal of any running back in the country from Ohio State. And he's a different cat, man. I mean, I love watching his tape. I mean, he's got one of the best running back tapes I've seen. And again, this is a Carlos Loughlin joint. Like, I mean, the thing about when you work with a guy like Brian Hartline, Carlos Loughlin's been with him for a year. It's a little over a year now that Carlos Loughlin became Ohio State's running backs coach after Tony Alford took off. If you really want to make bread in this industry and be a coordinator and head coach, if you're still learning a lot of the game and the facets of the game, if you just become a dominating recruiter, and again, in the age of NIL, where Ohio State is lethal with the amount of money that we have and how we spend it and how smart we are with it in terms of offering the proper amounts of money, then you can rise up the ranks quick, really quick. Again, like you look at Keenan Bailey has risen up the ranks, and he was able to spend this year to get Max Clare to come to his room. Again, Max Clare joined Ohio State, and again, he is the best tight end in that room by a country mile. But we have multiple returning starters. Jelani Thurman is a freak of nature talent, and we still, with a guy like Keenan, who's a really, really strong recruiter, he's able to get the best tight end in the country to commit to Ohio State. So this will be a good test for Carlos Loughlin if he can go toe to toe with Tennessee. I think Tennessee's probably, they're the ones that everyone's worried about with the money. But I don't know, man. Ohio State's pretty compelling when you look at this offense, and him potentially being paired with Tavian St. Clair, who's not going to, he'll be year 2, year 3, year 2 when he arrives, year 3 when he's probably the prominent starter once James Peoples likely declares. Yeah, I just in this offense where we just had 2 running backs go in the second round, in an era where it's generally difficult to go in the first round. There were 2 of them this year, but generally we've had years where there haven't been any running backs in the first round. I think that Ohio State's offense and JJ and the way that we spread guys out with this receiving group, it's really compelling because I think, man, if my kid's a running back and if I'm this kid's dad, I'm like, look, as long as Brian Hartline's there, man, they're going to have 5-star receivers. I mean, we're going to get Eric McFarland. We're going to get some superstars coming here. And that keeps that box with, a light box. Like you're not going to have nine. And when I say this, you're not going to have extra guys in the box. And for people that are, kind of learning football, the box is the area here. I'll pause this and I'll just draw it. Is this area like inside of here? Like, in high school, you can get a loaded box where, this corner is going to be manned up here, but you've got everybody kind of down around the line because it's high school and you got the straight running back, you got this overhang guy. So there's a lot of hats down there. So, in theory, if the quarterback isn't running a read option, these guys are outnumbered in terms of blockers and running back. When you've got, like, if this is JJ, Jeremiah Smith, and this is, Carnell Tate, I mean, you got to keep a safety back. I'm guessing they have a middle of the field safety. I can't see the full picture. And you got to cheat a guy over, which makes this box lighter, which makes it easier to get a lot of open space to run through, which was something that benefited Quinshon and Travion a ton this year. And that's why I loved what Chip Kelly did. And even more so the addition of Will Howard and with that read option game, like it's kind of like how do you want to commit suicide if you're calling the defense? Do you want to leave JJ one-on-one versus some hapless corner? Or do you want to have a light box and have our offensive line, and you hand it off to Trey Henderson or Quinshon, or you have Will Howard keep it on a read option? So that's what I would look at, because I think that these kids have never been smarter, and honestly, that's one of the things I love about the NIL world with these kids all having agents. They've never been more educated. Like they're not just going to get hoodwinked into an NIL deal and hope everything else works out. They're learning, hey, This guy knows how to put guys in the league. If Brian Hartline says you can play wide receiver to any general manager, any NFL head coach, any receiver coach that would come work his guys out if they talked to him on the phone, which all these before the draft, they're all calling the position coaches and hey, what are your thoughts? If you have some time, hey, and if Brian says you can play, perfect. And Carlos Loughlin, I think, is on that archetype where he could become that type of recruiter because he is a dynamic guy. He doesn't take no for an answer. He's not scared to go into Alabama. He's from Montgomery, Alabama, the home of four-star Freightliner. He's also from Mississippi. He goes down to Mississippi. He goes down to Alabama. He had a great term where he said, "I want to go down there and pick some fights in the recruiting wars." And I was like, I love that because there were times where we just didn't even go down there because we didn't even want to try to fight. And he wants to go down there and win stuff. And guess what? Like with NIL now, magically, we're pulling safeties out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which wouldn't have happened in 100 million years pre-NIL. And we're pulling great players out of the South. Quinshon Judkins was from Pike Road, Alabama. Went to Ole Miss. We would have never gotten those kids. And now, we're knocking on the door of kids, in Alabama, Mississippi, Baton Rouge, like places that we wouldn't have gotten into in a million years, which is why. And if people get sick of me saying it, and some people don't like it, I love NIL because in the olden days, man, we weren't getting a kid, we were getting a safety out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in a million years. But now, and that kid's the best safety in the country, and he's coming here, and I can't wait. Nevada, any other thoughts on Savon? Because again, I love the kid's tape, and again, he is. This is Carlos Loughlin saying, "Hey, let's go get you your Marmaduke running back." Any other thoughts?
Well, with Savon, I mean, and what they're pitching him on is teaching him how to become a complete back, and that was one of the things that Carlos Loughlin had really kind of sold. He's going through everything last year in terms of the recruitment because Quinshon could have gone anywhere he wanted to go, but with Carlos Loughlin, he's saying, look, it's one thing to be able to run the ball. We all know you can run the ball, but we want to teach you to be a ferocious blocker. We want to teach you to be a pass receiver. We do want you to be a 3 down back here at Ohio State and play around other great backs and not be the guy that gets worn down by being the bell cow. They want to have a pair and a spare, and they want guys to be able to get to the NFL with some tread left on the tire. So it's Ohio State's kind of refined the recruiting pitches for all the positions, but for the running backs especially, I think they've got such a great pitch because they're such a prolific throwing, with the quarterbacks and the wide receivers. It makes easy work for the running back. So I think given what happened with Quinshon last year, given what happened with Travion last year, I think it's the perfect time and to have the number one running back in the country coming out of Virginia. They've got all their all their assets are pointed on this one. So if they don't get this one, it just wasn't gettable because they've pulled out all the stops. They've got Ryan Day working on this. They've obviously got Brian Hartline working on this one as the offensive coordinator, and they've got Carlos Loughlin, who's a relentless recruiter, selling the family, selling the atmosphere, selling faith, and selling the best development program in the country for a college football running back. So lots to like. We'll know a lot more, after this weekend, but they're, coming in with high hopes and hopefully they'll get it done this weekend with Savon.
Yeah, I'm excited for this weekend. This is gonna be a big one for the Bucks. Well, Nevada announced the kickoff times like we all knew. Big noon is for Texas, 3:30 for Grambling, and then we've got 7:30 for Ohio University. So let's get it out of the way, Nevada. Your thoughts on the big nooner?
Yeah, well, I mean, they tried. They really did try. I got to give them credit. I got to give the broadcast executives credit. I got to give the OSU admin credit. This didn't happen for them lack of trying. They tried and they tried and they tried, and we're just not able to pull it off. And obviously they'd offered a Sunday night alternative to Texas. Texas turned it down. Um, the reason, you got to understand, Texas was under no obligation to, and any time that they wanted to change the game on Saturday, they could have changed the game too without consulting Texas. But once that moved date, when you're talking about moving date and time, moving it from Saturday to Sunday, they had to get Texas to sign off on it, and Texas wouldn't sign off on it. And obviously, you and I both know the reason for that. The reason for that was a Sunday night atmosphere with a Monday night Labor Day or Monday Labor Day, no NFL football going on that day. All the eyes of the football world that would have been an absolutely crazy environment. Everybody would have been watching that game. Would have just been insane. Um, they see that as making their task more difficult. So they punched out. They said, "Oh, we don't want to have a short week the next week for preparing for San Jose State," and so they turned it down. So from Texas's standpoint, that was their prerogative. They had the right to do that. And if I'm Ohio State, I'm just like, look, these things have a way of goes around, comes around. You may not be able to get them next year, but at some point in some time, you're going to be able to get Texas, and they should. I mean, because Texas kind of screwed Ohio State on this one. Obviously, they operate in their own best interest, as most people and most things do. But that doesn't mean that you can't keep a list. That mean you can't keep a number. And for Ohio State, I hope they have a long memory on this one with Texas, because their reasoning for not going along with it really was pretty weak. And I thought it was pretty weak sauce on part of Texas. And I always like Texas program, always respect the program. I will not root for Texas's program in any way, shape, or form anymore. After I think this is definitely weak sauce.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting because you look at in 2026 we go to Austin, but we play them week 2, which again I had no idea. I just wanted to look. We play ball. We open with Ball State in the Horseshoe, and then we go down to Austin on September 12th, and then we play Kent State the next week. So, because if it was the first game, and obviously it's not, so this isn't even on the table, but like, I think it would be cool because I always remember there were some times where I don't know if it was in '04 or '05 where I don't know if Florida State Miami played on Labor Day or they played on the Sunday before Labor Day, but like I just feel like that again I'm not Fox, but like that would be a night. And I know they've had these huge primetime games on that Sunday before Labor Day because that's the last Sunday of the year where there's no NFL football. Because usually they'll have preseason games midweek, they'll have final cuts, and then they have like 8 or 9 days before the season opener, which is always like a Thursday night game. It's like the Chiefs versus the Ravens, or it's the Eagles versus the 40. It's always like the Super Bowl winner versus it's like the AFC title game rematch or something like that. But like owning that Sunday, I think would be really compelling, just because if you're Ohio State, and again, I don't know if this will never change because it won't, but having, the home opener be on a Sunday, when it's the Sunday before Labor Day, I think would be amazing, just because you could lock it in as a night game. Everybody has that Monday off. But the biggest reason why I think that'd be really compelling is every recruit in the world could get rid of it or could get to the game, which is something that I think would be it would be a like swinging the sword of Excalibur at a problem, because that's the thing about this Texas game being a noon game is like Cade Dixon Wyatt plays Friday night in Los Angeles, so he ain't making the game, unless a donor wants to donate $80,000 worth of private jet fuel. He's not going to go straight to the airport and fly all night and go to the game and then fly back home, and you'd be exhausted, be terrible. But if it was a Sunday, then all these kids that play on Friday could travel Saturday, get to the stadium, whatever, Sunday game. Monday they'd obviously all be traveling back. And again, that's what the flexibility of if the high school football coach would let them skip. But no school's going to be in on Labor Day, so the kids could actually get back. But I don't know. I just always try to game out things that are kind of like like special, or like there's certain games that are played on Thanksgiving. Like I don't know. Like and again, I just always think of it through like I'm Mark Pantoni. Like Mark Pantoni said, Kirk, what would be something that we should try to do for recruiting? And they know what the problems are with these noon games. Is we have the biggest game of the year, and this is a rematch of basically the national championship game, because if Texas would have won, they would have beaten Notre Dame. So this is a spicy game, and it's going to be all these kids from Florida, Georgia, and California that love Ohio State, Texas. They're not going to be able to get up here for it. Yeah, it's going to be impossible. Like I said, because they're going to be playing a high school football game Saturday night and get done at 10. And Southwest Airlines isn't going to charter a jet from Dallas or from Miami just for these SFE kids, but could happen. I mean, if they want to take the red eye or get up at 5 a.m. and go, but I don't know. But again, if I was in Texas's shoes, I wouldn't move it either. Because again, I'm not in the business of helping Ohio State. And, Ohio State at noon is a lethargic, quiet environment versus Ohio State at 7 o'clock when it's Texas. Because again, I played in the Texas game in '05, and that was the most electric atmosphere outside of that whiteout that we played in '05 too, that I've ever seen at Ohio Stadium. And that was Vince Young. I mean, that was celebrities everywhere. And it was just a monstrous game. But do you agree? Again, like if you're Texas, I get why they're doing it. I mean, I don't have any respect for them, but I don't know how Ohio State could reciprocate it if they offered to move the date next year, because it's week 2, makes it a whole different ball of wax. What are your thoughts?
Well, no, you're probably not going to be able to get them next year on something, but you'll be able to get them at some point down the road. I mean, at some point, it's amazing how these things come around where somebody's going to ask for a favor or do something or whatever it is. But um, no, I just think I just think it's weak sauce on the part of Texas. I mean, Texas goes out there and you know it is actually a perfect setup for them because they've got San Jose State the next week. I mean, come on. I mean, if you can't be ready for San Jose State, and they talk about that '05 game. I mean, the most electric atmosphere. Bottom line is Texas came in and won the game.
Yep.
It took a miracle. It took 5 field goals, a missed field goal, and a miracle drive to make it a drop pass to make it happen. But they pulled it off with a great team, classic game. We all remember it, and again, I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole on this, but I hate noon games. I've always hated noon games. I don't I just having been to the stadium a million times and been to so many different games, I just think that the energy is just lacking for those noon games. And I hope it's crazy. I hope everybody says, "Oh no, it'll be wild, it'll be crazy," but it's just not the same. And I think night games have a different feel to them. Um, I've talked about this often on the show, but for those of us that were at the Tennessee playoff game in December, despite it being cold, that was crazy, dude. I mean, that was absolutely crazy, insane, and definitely had a wild feel to it. So, yeah, I'm a little bummed because I don't like playing the game anyway, and now that we have to play the game at big noon, um, I like it even less. But oh well, woe is me. I'll be done sobbing by the time the game rolls around. But yeah, not crazy about a noon kickoff at all.
You think I'm crazy about it or no?
You do. You're Mr. Noon
So,
Kickoff. You are.
yep.
You are. You're like
Yep.
my favorite thing are the noon kickoffs because then I could get back and I could be home
That's right.
and I could be in
Yep.
my jammies.
That's right.
You do like the noon kickoff. Admit that you like the noon kickoffs. Can you admit
Oh,
that?
I don't like them. I love them. It's my favorite thing in the whole wide world. If you said, Kirk, you could win the Powerball or you could make every Ohio State game forever a noon kickoff, I'd say, give me the
You'd be
noon
like,
kickoffs. I don't need the money.
"Yeah,
We're good.
I
We just
love it.
podcast. I'll just podcast a little bit longer and make up for that Powerball money. Every game should be at noon. It's like you're the gladiator in the arena. Did the arena in the movie Gladiator, did they do it at night or did they do it at noon? Did it at noon.
Yeah,
It's when men fight.
big
It's
noon.
when it goes. And then I can always, and again, for me, man, those noon games would go kick the crap out of Iowa in 2005 and head straight to Texas Roadhouse with the family and have about 6 margaritas and eat 3 steaks. And it was like, that's a great time. Let me tell you.
How about the
And it's
rolls?
like,
Do you get the rolls? Do you like the Texas
oh,
Roadhouse
dude,
rolls?
after I played in a football game, it's like 2 baskets of rolls, like 2 salads, a steak. I usually go Crown and Diet Cokes. I don't want all the sugar for the margarita. I'd have like 1 or 2
Oh,
margaritas.
okay.
Like my family would come down, man, and it's like, let's go to Texas Roadhouse and crush some food. Because like you're starving, so you're like an incinerator. So, and when it was a night game, you know what? I was stuck on a Steak and Shake, which sucked. That's
Oh,
why they all went
oh,
out of business. And they didn't have beef tallow then. It was just regular stuff. So I'm telling
oh,
you, the
wow.
noon games, I was like, man, I can't. 4 o'clock. Ooh, Yeah, the first Crown and Diet Coke hit my lips after being sore and the painkillers wore off on my broke foot. Whew, feeling good about it.
Slather those biscuits or with those muffins with the butter and everything else that just like just like throw them on down. Yep,
Yeah,
I
it's
got it.
like it's a vessel for the honey butter, right?
Yeah, the honey butter is really good. The honey butter
That's
is
going to
really
be,
good.
and again, I appreciate you guys that bought gear. The gear should be getting shipped out either the end of this week or early next week. But biggest drop we've ever had, and a shirt I'm going to make is that when Nevada, anytime we talk about anything that's like fattening, Nevada always says that whatever he's eating is a vessel for it. Like when he eats like, when do you get a Thousand Island dressing? You say, oh, the salad's a vessel for the Thousand Island, or
Well,
the roll is
it's
a
a
vessel for the honey.
it's a delivery device. It's a
It's
salad.
a delivery mechanism. Yum yum
Yeah,
sauce at
exactly.
Benihana. He's like, oh yeah, that
Right?
rice and that steak is just for the yum yum sauce. So I'm not just eating spoonfuls of yum yum sauce. You know,
I do love Benihana. Ooh, yeah, I love talking about food.
it is fire. All right, D Sunny, let's go. Thanks for the five, brother. Appreciate you. Would Fox have lost millions by changing the game to night, or is that just their long term plan for noon games that they didn't want to move off of it? I don't think this was Fox. I mean, Nevada, the way I'm reading it, and this is Texas, right? Because Texas didn't want to move it. They had all their arrangements made, whatever. Um, Again, like it's moving it back a night and then getting back at 4 in the morning. I get it. It sucks. But what this is, and you know what's funny? This is why I wish that we had like a super conference where it's just the Big Ten and the SEC and you had a commissioner. Because it's kind of like how in the NFL they can flex games from morning to night or from Saturday to Sunday or from Thursday, from Thursday night football. I mean, they move games all over the place in the NFL, and the guys just have to go with it. That's one thing that sucks about us having different conferences and different, Fox is over here, and ESPN is the SEC in Texas, and Fox is Ohio State, and so there's just too many factions at war here trying to get things done. But the way I read it is that Fox was willing to move it to Sunday night. Again, they got the World Series, which is always an issue. But or playoff base, whatever it was. But Texas just didn't want to do it. Is that how you're reading this, Nevada?
Well, yeah, I mean, the option, I mean, look, there were three options, or actually, I should say four options. The one option was leave it where it is. Second was give it to another network, give it to NBC or ABC or whatever it was. Um, s- the next one was have Fox move it to Saturday night and have Fox do it Saturday night. And then the last one was have Fox do it Sunday night. So Texas shot down the Sunday night. The one thing that I don't, what doesn't make sense to me is why Fox just didn't do the game Saturday night. I mean, it's not like Fox isn't Fox, and it's not like Fox hasn't done Saturday night games. Fox has done Saturday night games. They're generally, you know, Arizona versus Boise State, or I mean, they're lower tier games, but they do have a broadcast window, and they have done games at night on Saturday night. I don't have any idea why that wasn't able to be pulled off. But yeah, I mean, you know, obviously Fox didn't want to lose the game. They didn't want to give it up to somebody else, even in return for something, because frankly, an Ohio State Texas game, how do you, it's pretty hard to come up with anything comparable to that. Short of the Ohio State Michigan game, the Ohio State Texas game is probably going to be the second most watched game of the year, nationally. So that was a big chip that they had. And, they decided to keep it and put it in that big noon, and away we go.
And there's just literally no comp. The best night game by far is LSU Clemson, which is just kind of okay. It's two teams that didn't make the playoffs. Well, I mean Clemson, they went out in the first round. Excuse me. But there isn't like some mega game to start the season off. I just think that I'm with you. I don't know why they couldn't flex it to a night game. Um, I just can't imagine that the ratings don't get some sort of a significant bump when it's a night game. I mean, I just, and again, I could be crazy. And again, the Fox, they're experts. They've made, hundreds of billions of dollars doing this for a living, but it's strange. And like I said, I feel bad for Ohio State because the recruits won't be able to get there. And I feel bad for the kids that just want to come watch the game because like, it's fun. Like, to check out Ohio State, Texas under the lights and the shoes about as good as you could ever get. I mean, that's like something they put on the college football trailer, but Yeah, I think that I'll never understand why they couldn't flex it. Again, I thought it was playoff baseball and a Major League Baseball contract and jeopardizing that for or whatever, but that's the only thing I can come up with. And I wonder if that's why they really decided to go big noon all the time. All right, descending again next for the 5. He says, looking back, are you glad the Big Ten didn't get Texas and Oklahoma because you got USC, Oregon, and Washington, and also UCLA? Don't forget them. Nevada, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, if you're offering me the trade of Oklahoma, Texas, or the four Pac-10 schools that we got, I'd go with the four Pac-10 schools. Now, obviously, of those, Texas is the big dog, but I love USC being in the Big Ten. Obviously, I've been a UCLA season ticket holder forever, and I think so much of the Oregon program and Washington. I think Washington is going to be a tough, tough place to play for everybody, including Ohio State. So I think all in all, considering the fact that SEC was the first mover, went out and got Texas to Oklahoma, and you looked at it and you looked at the chess pieces and said, Who else could you get? What other move could you make to kind of preempt this and or surpass it?" And we made the only move short of Notre Dame, which is still the big dog hanging out there independently. Um, USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington were as good as you could get, and frankly, I think they were the four best properties left on the board, and the Big Ten got them all.
Yeah, I mean, I agree because I think when you look at what adding Los Angeles does, and obviously up through the coast, up to Washington and Oregon, but like adding Los Angeles is so huge. Um, and it wasn't that long ago, and I know it seems 20 years goes by really quick. I've learned that as I've gotten older. Like SC was the monster. They were, terrifying, talented monsters. So they could get back to that. Again, I was just like I think you and Colin Cowherd when they signed when they hired Lincoln Riley. I thought, oh boy, here we go, and it just hasn't worked out. It's kind of, but it can change. And Oregon's a sleeping giant too. I mean, they were number one in the country for most of the year. They beat us, and obviously we laid, took them to the woodshed in the Rose Bowl. But I mean, if you lined up SC. SC's kind of like that Oklahoma right now, and Oregon's like a Texas. I mean, they're right on the cusp of winning a national title. So I mean, I think that they're pretty fair. But then when you throw in Washington, and UCLA, you got to remember, like you're adding basketball too. You know what I mean? So some of these schools are really competitive in hoops, really competitive in other areas. And again, I just think that us going out to Los Angeles is inherently cool. I think it's much cooler than going to Oklahoma. Austin's cool, but the Bucks getting to go out to LA and play out there all the time and playing the Rose Bowl and playing the Coliseum. I think that's something the fan base will be excited about. And like I said, I think it's cool to have, UCLA have to come play at Indiana and at Purdue and at Michigan State and at all these little rinky dink schools that they never would have gone to in a million years prior. So I love the addition. Like as much as I would love to have Texas just because they're so gargantuan, I just think adding Los Angeles, if you're trying to get those television markets, is just so huge, and that's something that I'm super excited about. Paul Lewis, thank you for the 50, brother. I hope you're doing good, my man. Hi, Kirk in Nevada. I've been out of the country for a while. Where'd you go, my dude? You can text me if you want to. Glad that you're back. We missed you, my dude. We're gonna drink some wine again sometime because you're still a fan favorite. When we went and you walked in with your own bottles of wine because they were way more expensive than the bottles that they were serving. So you're still a legend for that. But I appreciate you, my dude. I hope you're feeling good. I hope you and your lady are good. But I appreciate you, brother, as always. Matt Patel, thank you for the 10. Regarding the cheaters up north, and by the way, guys, I put Justin Spiro made one of the funniest videos of all time in the last day or two, sent it to Nevada, and I posted it on his Twitter. I asked for his permission for us to put that on our YouTube channel because it was so funny and it was so good. I'm like, dude, like we got to get this as much exposure as possible. So he was gracious enough to allow us to post it on our channel. It's up there. It's probably the second or third video that's from the top, but it is incredible how funny it is and how good it is. So make sure you guys, if you have a second, check it out. It says Michigan getting the hammer, but he does this edit. It's got the Joker in it and Sharon Moore melting, and the NCAA guy shooting fire out of his hands. It is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. And you just got to see it. Nevada, before I get into this question, your thoughts on the Bureau of It? 'Cause I thought that was incredible. And I wish I was that talented.
Yeah, I mean, he's a talented guy. He's obviously a guy that he's super motivated in terms of digging on this Michigan scandal. And yeah, those videos are funny, but this is probably his best work. The stuff with the vacuum cleaners and Blake Corum was pretty classic. And yeah, no, if you haven't seen it, definitely do yourself a favor and do it and check it out and subscribe to his channel on Twitter because it's a nonstop source of entertainment for sure.
Yeah, and this channel's Darko State Media, Darko. So you can find it. He's really easy to find, and he's a big Scoop fan, and we're a big fan of his, and super, super talented dude. Matt Patel, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, my dude. Regarding the Cheers North, do you think the NCAA would ever penalize other sports, i.e., a postseason for all sports in Ann Arbor because they have authority over all other sports? In my opinion, the NCAA should have with Penn State. I don't think there's any precedent for that. I mean, it'd be interesting, but I don't think you could punish like the swim team for what the football team does wrong because you've seen programs run a roughshod over over certain universities, and one program gets hammered and the other ones just kind of keep rolling along. But I don't think that that's possible. That there's no precedent for that. If football screws up, they get rid of everything. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the difficult thing with that is that would be, beyond the NCAA statute. And the only way the NCAA can kind of screw this thing up right now is to, break precedent with what they've done, not follow their own procedures, not follow their own bylaws. Not good. That's why this thing is taken. I mean, well, you and I both know this is fast. This is fast in the big scheme of anybody who's ever been through litigation or any type of legal process. This has been fast and it's followed the book precisely. The dates are all out there, and the committee on infractions is ready to go on June 6th and 7th. So it's gone fast, but no, I don't think that would be anything that would be in the cards. The hammer's certainly going to fall for the mission for the football program. And I think ultimately it's going to pull down the entire administration. I mean, you've got Ono, you've got Ward Manuel, you've already lost Harbaugh. Sharon Moore, in my opinion, is coach's last game ever at Michigan. So it's going to be far reaching, but I think it's going to be limited to the football program.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that if you try to shut down every other sport, that'd be like lawsuit palooza, in my opinion. Like if I was still playing at Ohio State, and I was in my heyday, and I lost the opportunity to play because of something the basketball team did, for instance, I would have. I mean, I guarantee that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. You punish a team that has nothing, that does everything right, and honestly, there's a lot of teams at Ohio State that pre NIL and even post NIL they don't really get much. So they're probably just scraping by and doing what they can do, and um, but that would be a severe severe penalty. From just from a branding standpoint, I don't think that they can do it. I've never seen there's no precedence for that, but I do believe Michigan is going to get hammered pretty significantly. Nevada, it is Friday of Memorial Week here in Columbus. Do you have any golf bets going right now?
I have no. Actually, it's only Thursday. You're thinking it's Friday. It's only Thursday, dude. What are you talking about?
No.
You're like
Well,
you.
I mean, it's about to be Friday. I'm already on Thursday, but it's yeah. I was thinking about for tomorrow's tournament Friday because the tournament's done for the day. So
Yeah, no.
did you have any futures bets? Because again,
I
we like to
I don't
talk
have any.
about.
Yeah, I don't have any futures bets, and I'd have to really study the Memorial and see kind of how that's going. It's one of my favorite tournaments to bet, but I don't really know who's good or who's doing it. But obviously, the answer usually every year is just lately has been just bet Scotty Scheffler and then sit back and collect your money. But I think this one's going to be a little bit more wide open, obviously.
Yeah, I I agree. I think that he's the chalk per usual, but yeah, I didn't see anything yet. So all right, Nevada, we could wrap this thing up. We got a really nice show today. Any final thoughts?
Now, just I apologize to the chat. The fact that somebody's in there spamming the chat was man. You've got to be just like the most pathetic person in the world to spend your time like spamming the chat in terms of doing it. And man, I just we're complimented that you care so much about our thing to do it, but man, you are pathetic. So just my final thoughts are, dude, who's ever doing that, and we will find out who does that. There are ways to find this stuff out, but man, you're a disgusting human being, man. It's like get a life.
The good thing is, tonight I'm going to hang up and I'm going to call Steely, and Steely's going to become a moderator, and so are Beth and Karis. So we have some new mods on the job to clean this thing up. And Steely, he's very quick to use the hammer, so I'm going to be excited about that. So Steely, expect a phone call pretty quick here, my dude. All right, as always, if you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, I appreciate you guys so much for all that you guys do each and every night. Again, this has been an incredible run for our show, incredible growth for the channel. We're trying to get to 40,000. So again, spread the good word, BuckeyeScoop.com, YouTube. Again, we appreciate you guys being a part of everything we do. And we can't do it without you guys. So keep spreading the good word, telling your friends, and growing this thing. Give us a follow on Apple Podcasts if you guys can. If you guys are going out this weekend, please be careful. It's a wild weekend for the Memorial. Very fun time. But again, make sure you guys have a good time. Enjoy yourselves. Again, the weather's starting to get nice. Columbus is beautiful this time of the year, and let's hope we get a couple of these big timers to really enjoy their time and commit to the Ohio State Buckeyes. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Go Bucks.